Well, hi, members and friends of St. Paul Lutheran Church. As many of you know, we have a cemetery as part of our property. Way back when St. Paul started in 1816, our original location was just off of Frederick Pike. There was the church building, and then the cemetery right beside it. In 1873, we moved to our current location, here at the corner of Dogleg Road and Little York Road. Well, because of the move and the passage of time, the cemetery became overgrown. Nature sort of took its toll on it. Even though there have been some times of periodic maintenance on the cemetery over the years, it still was looking pretty bad. Well, the cemetery currently sits in the farmland of a man named Tom Hertline. Tom's nephew, George, was working on his Eagle Scout project this past year, and his project was to clean up the St. Paul Cemetery. George recently contacted me and told me that he's all done. He invited me to come out and take a look at it. So I want you to come with me, and together we can see the newly cleaned up St. Paul Cemetery. So let's go have a look at it. Well, the only way to get back to the cemetery is to take a little ride back there, so let's see where it is.
And we'll have to do a little bit of walking to, because the beans being planted, but it isn't too bad of a walk.
Okay. Well, at least there's a path to drive on.
Yeah.
Now, how far back would you say it is from the road?
From this one,
Yeah.
I'd say it's probably half a mile.
Half a mile back.
Well, maybe not quite that far, but it's. Tom could probably tell you exactly because he knows how much acreage this is on exactly.
Right. What got you thinking to do this as your Eagle Scout project?
My mom found an article in a newspaper that a boy cleaned up a cemetery for his project, and she thought of the cemetery back here needed some work, so we came back here and was like, yeah, we can move some of the honeysuckle, tune up the gravestones and all that stuff. And so that's what led me to decide to do this.
Right. And how long did it take you?
More than expected. It took almost a year.
Well, I know you put a lot of hard work into it.
So how many hours did we?
177.
177 hours?
Yeah.
Between all, and that was with all of us. All our hours combined, I guess.
It's a lot of time. Alright, now we get out and walk.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, here's your new sign for the cemetery. Well, that looks really nice.
I'll even put you a plug in if you ever need signs.
Yeah.
There's a husband-wife team that rents our building, does this.
Oh, okay.
Truck lettering, all that kind of stuff. Well, when you've been back here one time, wasn't you?
I think I've been back here twice in 11 years.
All right. Don't look the same.
I bet it doesn't.
I can't take credit for the work. I'm the brains behind the project.
Here we are. Oh, wow. Much better than last time I remember. Very nice, George.
Kind of watch your step. There's some roots and stumps and but
Used
yeah,
to be
we got most of them fairly close to the ground.
There was a whole lot of, and you see some of them dead. There was a lot of, right in here I found more buckeye trees than anywhere else.
Really?
But for some reason, a lot of them died, the bigger ones. But I think there's some newer ones starting to come back. Yeah.
There was one that was felled down through here, and we kind of cut it up and moved it over there a little bit. And this one here.
As you can see, a lot of the markers are hard to read, just given the age of them. Some of them you can still see.
Some of the names on here, if you study any of Butler Township's history, are pretty familiar though. Riders, Waymeyers.
Well, there's a list of who all is buried here in the St. Paul history book.
How many you got? What, I figured
Tom, he did like 2 years of research on this with
here's one
all
of
your
my
information.
sister.
He wrote a whole book on it.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
incredible.
Thank
all the
you.
information he had in it.
Thank you.
And my sister bring like a little nylon.
I'll put
brush.
the Amazon link to the book in the description here for the video. Those of you watching are interested.
Looks like CATHABIN, something like that, maybe. Cather, or no, Cather.
Here's one here that's easier to read.
Died in 1854. I think we discussed once. There was a cholera epidemic in Vandalia, and that's why a lot of these people you can see young and old kind of died at the same time. So there was a period there a lot of them died in the same time span, I think, because of the cholera of it.
Yeah, I think there's over 100 buried here, dating back to 1800s. Yeah.
Was that some of the early ones that you came across? Was that like the early 1800s?
I'd have to go back and look at the dates, but yeah. And there's one grave here for a Revolutionary War soldier.
Now, somebody might want to talk to you. I don't know if you ever talked to Joe Janchek?
Yeah, over at the Historical Society?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he wants to come out here this fall sometime. I want to bring him out and see.
Oh, yeah,
see
yeah,
what he
yeah.
did.
Oh, this is much better. It goes way back, doesn't it?
What you ought to do, too. Sounds like when I was a kid. That's not a problem. Would be nice. Pen some kind of a nice little letter. Send one to the historical, or maybe one to the township trustees. Mention what he did.
Oh, yeah.
It's not necessary.
I think you should. Too much work. And they told you it's part of his Eagle Scout.
Yeah, right. You did a great job. It looks wonderful.
We were hoping you were going to be happy with it.
We
didn't know how. Now, as far as propping up the headstones, we used a lot of the tree stumps that were just gonna. We don't have like rebar or anything like that, or the means to correct something like this to where it's slanted, and this
That
was
we're
on
gonna
top
need
of it at the time, I guess.
You need Superman or a
But,
skid steer.
yeah,
out there,
that's beyond our capability to. And with the age of the headstones, you go moving them too much and they're gonna break on you. But,
Yeah, I see how
Tommy's got this
you
great.
prop some of them up. Yeah.
Tommy's got this great glue he uses on pavers.
glue.
It's amazing
I mean,
what they'll hold. You could put some of these back together with that if you had to.
I imagine
Yeah.
there's ways to do it. We just don't have.
He's got it in a tube. You just squirt it and put it on, and it'll actually the whole front of that store over there.
the
Some of those
concrete.
brick, the concrete broke off the front there, and I glued them together, and they never moved an inch. But Joe Jaranchak, he gave me some good history of it. Okay, here's one thing. I went around and marked it. See all the orange on the trees, orange down there? That's your boundaries.
Oh, all right.
Wherever you see that orange, that's the old line fence.
Got it.
The fence line was down, but
Yeah.
that's where
I kind of sprayed some
the
orange
poles
paint
and
there.
that were. So
Okay, great.
Corner
marked
post
it so
down
we
there to
knew
your
where-
right.
how far deep to cut.
And that's how far back that way it goes.
So how big would you say that area is?
It's probably less than an acre.
Uh-huh.
Now, I don't know if it's actually bigger than that, but that's where the fence is,
Okay.
which they had it fenced off.
Did you
All
happen to find any remains of an old foundation anywhere?
No, but it would be on that side.
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying. The fence might just be the boundary of the cemetery itself. But now where the church was, because see that there's a lane back there. It comes in off Frederick. That used to be a road. And it went clear to over across Dog Lake and clear to Peters at one time. And Joe's got some old maps, 1850s, it'll show it. But that road come in that way, and then you come in the road and went around and come into the church.
So that's how they got access to here.
Yeah.
Through that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Now it's just a lane. There's a family that lives back in there.
Right.
Yeah, the Midlands. So anyhow, I don't know a whole lot of the history of it, but Joe's got a good source of it. And,
Yeah.
So I want to bring some of them back. Paul Knoop, he come back here a long time ago, who the prairie was named after. Paul
Right.
Knoop.
Right.
And I got an article, and maybe I'll show it to you. And I had hair and everything back in the day, and a brown beard. I got a bit article at home there. It was in the paper because Paul come here and did a big story in Dayton Daily News on this. But this stuff, see a lot of this stuff? He says you don't find that anywhere except undisturbed ground. And I forget he had names for all this stuff.
I think that article might actually be in our book.
Okay. But had a picture of me. But he said a lot of this stuff, and he had the names of everything, but you don't see it everywhere because this has never been plowed, never been worked, anything. And the fence probably even kept the cows out, you know? So.
Right. It's fascinating to see it like this.
Yeah. It's quiet, ain't it?
Yeah.
Didn't come across one snake. We thought Lori was sure that we'd come across a snake back here, but
Most of them, they're not poisonous.
never came.
Yeah.
Came
What
across
you do
them.
see out here is a lot of black snakes, and they scare the crap out of them. They're big,
Oh,
but they're not poisonous. So.
yeah.
But I've seen a lot of them around this farm for some reason. That's why my wife don't want to ever build a house, particularly because she's scared the snakes will get in the house. But if they get in your house, you don't have any mice or rats.
Well, let's walk back here a little bit.
Watch your step. I know some of these little stumps they cut off, and little tombstones. But that could be a project sometime. You know, come back and try to identify some of them.
Right.
If they're a little bristle brush like that, you can clean them off a little bit without hurting anything. This will probably grow back, Ed, but it's good. I mean, it ain't hurting anything.
Yeah. It looks great.
What I did, though, I give them some herbicide. And you cut the honeysuckle and you spray it immediately. And it'll keep it from coming back. Otherwise, it'll grow up faster and you can cut it off. So the nasty stuff shouldn't come back so much. So you might just have ground cover in the bigger trees.
Good.
Yeah. You know your trees? That's a nice cherry. A lot of nice cherry back in this farm. And walnut. If you look at the ground, you know what that is?
Yeah.
Firewood. It's a hedge apple. Also good for picking up hedge apples.
Well, even though it doesn't look like a modern day cemetery, this is part of St. Paul's history.
Well, you'll never get the township out here again because it's too much work, and plus they can't get in and out of here, the access, you know.
Yeah. But it's fascinating to think that this is where some of the saints of the past
Oh,
Work.
yeah.
were buried. Right.
Yeah.
Like I said, several of the names on here, if you look at, you know, especially the Waymeyers, Writers, those go way back. Now, the I don't know if you looked, but the people that owned this farm originally and give the ground to the church was Coble.
Right.
Yeah, Cobles. So, but I didn't see Cobles buried here.
Well, that's, I forget the first name, but he's the Revolutionary War soldier.
Okay. Now, well, that's one thing. Joe Janchek told me.
Mm-hmm.
He said, well, it's a fact if you want to pursue it. But if you have a Revolutionary War soldier buried in a cemetery, the township has to maintain it.
Uh-huh.
But I said, well, that might be good in theory. Yeah. But if you ask them, they'll say, we don't have time, we don't have manpower, they can't keep the grass cut, you know.
Well, I'm not sure where his grave would be back here.
Yeah.
But at least according to the records, he's
still
buried
here.
back here somewhere.
He's still here. Okay.
Right.
There's your next project, George. COBLE.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate all your hard work.
Oh, no, thank you.
Thank you for doing this.
You've been very courteous towards us to do this project, so.
Well, it's been a big gift to the congregation, so thank you. Well, as part of George's project, they even made a little bench back here. Even though the cemetery is hard to get to, at least one could come and sit and remember all of those who have gone before us.
Like some of the Buckeye leaf on it.